Hello, welcome to the Village of Zeballos Community Wildfire Protection Plan. This is a video presentation that is supplementary to a formal report submitted to the Strathcona Regional District in the Village of Zeballos. The full Community Wildfire Protection Plan report and maps can be downloaded from the SRD website for further reference. My name is Colin Philliter. I'm a professional forester from Wildfire that helped write this report, along with my colleague Cynthia Liu, also a professional forester. In this video, we'll provide an overview of the Zeballos Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is a 2020 update from the initial 2011 plan. We will review the results of the local wildfire threat and risk assessments, the application of FireSmart program initiatives, and the recommendations made in the plan. Any relevant but incomplete recommendations from the initial 2011 plan have been accounted for in the 2020 update. The Zeballos area of interest included in this plan is a 2-kilometer area around the village. This is known as the Wildland Interurban Interface, or the WUI, which is marked by the yellow boundary on this map. Zeballos is located on the west coast of Vancouver Island, about 2.5 hours northwest of Campbell River. There's a population of around 110 people. Important infrastructure within the community includes a school, a village administrative office, a community hall, a RCMP office, a health clinic. Most of the village is covered by fire suppression of the volunteer fire department. All maps in this presentation are high resolution and included in the final deliverables for the project, which have been submitted to the SRD as well as the village. As part of this Community Wildfire Protection Plan, we conducted the suggested local wildfire threat assessment that was developed by BC Wildfire. This assessment is based on a spatial GIS analysis using mapping programs and a number of different factors to calculate the threat. The fuel type around the community has a large impact on the threat score. Fuel type influences the head fire intensity, which is the energy or heat intensity of a fire. The spotting impact, which is the ability for the wildfire to spread to adjacent areas, also plays into the threat. Another factor is the historically recorded fire density of an area. This includes both human-caused and lightning-caused ignitions. Based on the spatial analysis we conducted, Zeballos was shown as moderate to high. This appears as yellow for moderate and high, which is orange. Recent wildfires within the area of interest include 168 wildfire from 2018, known as the Gold Valley Main Fire. This lightning-caused wildfire came within 100 meters of homes within the community, and it led to an evacuation order on a number of homes in the northeast part of town, partially due to safety concerns from the fire, as well as ongoing terrain stability issues. Other residents within the community left voluntarily due to thick smoke and difficulty breathing. This fire has had a significant impact on the village, both while the fire was active as well as afterwards. After we calculated the threat score, the next step is local wildfire risk classification. Again, this classification and calculation is conducted by using parameters developed by BC Wildfire. It is done in GIS using multiple factors. One of the factors is the wildfire threat that we just discussed. Other factors include the proximity of the community to the threat, fire spread patterns by localized wind patterns, and slope. It should be noted that proximity has a significant impact on risk. Fuels that are 100 meters within the community are a much higher risk than the same fuel type that might be 500 or 1,000 meters away from the community. For Zeballos, most of the area was calculated as moderate, with some pockets of high. On this map, you can see the red outline, which shows the Wildland Urban Interface 100, or the WUI 100. This is the 100 meters that is closest surrounding most of the structures in the community. Fuel treatment recommendations came from this assessment, something we will discuss later in the video. A common discussion point in this video and in the report is around FireSmart, which is a national initiative to provide communities, property owners, and residents the tools to assess the fire hazard around their homes and provide them with strategies to start reducing those hazards. FireSmart is a shared responsibility involving all levels of government. It involves participation from the private sector as well as community leaders. This photo shows a neighborhood in Fort McMurray after the 2016 wildfire. Some homes burned while others did not. Fire smarting of those homes may have played a factor. Embers or sparks cause a significant proportion of structure ignitions. FireSmart assessments are done to assess both public and private property to determine what can be done to make structures and property more resistant to fire. A key aspect of the FireSmart program is the structural ignition zone. This is comprised of 4 different priority zones. Each zone is assessed separately, and there's judging criteria based on zone proximity, vegetation, and structural building materials and design. Several recommendations within this Community Wildfire Protection Plan address reducing hazards in the structural ignition zone. The full Community Wildfire Protection Plan makes a total of 26 recommendations. We will highlight the high priority recommendations first and at greater detail before having a look at the medium and lower priority items. Recommendations are prioritized based on their relative importance to reducing the likelihood of a fire spreading into the community, reducing impacts to critical infrastructure and property, and reduce negative economic and social impacts to the community. The availability of resources required to complete each recommendation should be assessed by local government. During our review of the Zeballos emergency plan, we identified a few gaps that should be addressed for both wildfire as well as other emergencies. To improve upon the current plans, it is recommended that an emergency operations center, helicopter landing areas, muster points, and evacuation routes are all established and included on new plans and mapped accordingly. Recommendation 2 suggests having the fire bylaw to provide the village and fire department with additional tools to reduce the risk of human-caused ignitions, as well as reducing fire hazards within the municipal boundary. To mitigate the risk of a wildland-urban interface fire starting and spreading from the wood waste landfill, it is recommended that Zeballos engage the tenure holder to develop a risk management plan. This should address hazards that are associated with the landfill. Options include having a water source kept nearby during high fire danger and implementing FireSmart planning, as well as fuel treatment adjacent to the site. To increase community awareness engagement in the FireSmart program, Zeballos should find a local representative that can deliver a FireSmart awareness presentation, as well as help train a FireSmart community champion. It is essential to find a local FireSmart champion, as they will often lead the charge on localized community initiatives as a volunteer. Finding a FireSmart champion is usually the first step in getting organized and implementing FireSmart within a community. Recommendation 10 looks at bringing FireSmart directly to the citizen. Homeowners should be encouraged to do the free online FireSmart 101 course so they can begin to understand the program and then start to implement it on their own homes. Recommendation 9, Zeballos should offer periodic free alternative waste disposal options. This could include free collection or chipping days. This would encourage homeowners to remove fuel from their yards, which is an alternative to backyard waste burn. To reduce high-risk fuels within the wildland-urban interface 100, a FireSmart hazard assessment should be done to determine what FireSmart activities should be completed. 3 initial areas where FireSmart assessment should be done include the Zeballos School, the Zeballos Public Works, and along the Zeballos Forest Service Road, as well as the area along Parkway Road. Communication of fire safety is key in educating the public. Zeballos could engage in increased communication with its residents through social media, as well as traditional sources such as mail, pamphlets, brochures, and flyers. It is recommended that a Village of Zeballos specific wildfire safety and preparedness information fact sheet be distributed. This could be done annually to let residents within the community be informed. The full Community Wildfire Protection Plan report and map should be made available on the Village website, as well as on the SRD website. Industrial users should also be aware of the plans. That way, they can consider the recommendations into their operations and management. Zeballos should organize a Community Fire Safety Day that is an annual event. This should focus on fire safety related activities, fire suppression practice, and FireSmart activities. This Fire Safety Day could be timed with Fire Prevention Week, which happens annually during the 2nd week of October. Not all members of the Zeballos Volunteer Fire Department have the Wildland Forest Firefight Level 1 training, due to timing and availability of the course, as well as financial resources. It is recommended that this training be offered when available to all members of the Volunteer Fire Department. To maintain and improve wildfire emergency communication across agencies and jurisdictions, Recommendation 23 is that annual meetings are held. These meetings should involve the British Columbia Wildfire Service, Emergency Management BC, and the Zeballos Volunteer Fire Department. This could build relationships and improve communication in the event of a wildland-urban interface fire. Recommendation 31 looks to improve equipment availability for structure protection. Zeballos should engage with Campbell River in a mutual aid agreement for deployment of structural protection units in specified fire emergencies. We will now discuss the 8 medium priority recommendations in this plan. As mentioned earlier, the local wildfire risk assessment shows moderate and high risk within 500 meters of the community. Recommendation 4 identified 5 sites for potential fuel treatment areas. They should be further investigated by a qualified registered professional for the development of site-specific fuel management prescriptions. This would help reduce the risk in these areas. Annual community event days are a great opportunity to spread fire smart awareness as well as educational materials. Zeballos should invite a local fire smart representative to deliver the material at these days. Recommendations 11 and 26 look at implementing fire smart recommendations for the type of building materials used. All new buildings or upgraded buildings owned by the village or the Strathcona Regional District should use preferred fire smart building materials whenever possible. Additionally, homeowners should be made aware of the Fire Smart Home Development Guide. Recommendation 16 is that Zeballos should promote alternatives to backyard waste burning so that residents are aware that there are other options available as opposed to just backyard burning. To ensure Zeballos has the necessary equipment and training to properly provide fire suppression, the village or Strathcona Regional District should apply for grants to obtain additional equipment as well as properly recruit and train new volunteer firefighters. To maintain the volunteer fire department's readiness in responding to fires, cross-training should occur between the Zeballos Fire Department and the British Columbia Wildfire Service. These training sessions should include fire line construction, pump operations, sprinkler protection, portable water tank deployment, and wildland hose operations. Recommendation 25 looks to reduce the likelihood of structure fires from wildfire embers by using sprinkler kits. Homeowners should be encouraged to buy their own sprinkler kits to set up around homes and on top of roofs. This is a relatively low-cost method that can be used in extreme wildfire scenarios, which can often save structures. We will now discuss the 3 low-priority recommendations included in this plan. Recommendation 7 looks at delivering fire smart education within the Zeballos school system. Specific educational packages exist for teaching younger audiences. Students will often bring home learning materials to their parents, who can then implement fire smart on their own homes. Recommendation 19 is to continue to recruit and retain efforts for the volunteer fire department. Zeballos should have open houses or recruitment days to bolster the number of volunteer firefighters. Social media is also a strong tool for advertising the need for more members. To mitigate the potential impacts of heavy wildfire smoke and poor air quality on the community, Zeballos should look to purchase HEPA filters to establish air quality refuge areas during heavy smoke events. N95 masks are another option to reduce smoke exposure. To summarize this video, the area of interest around the village of Zeballos is generally characterized by moderate to high wildfire risk. As you get closer to the community and within 500 meters of structures, it tends to be higher. As you get further out, the risk gets lower. The recommendations we discussed focus on key areas of wildfire protection, including fire smart activities, community awareness, as well as fire education. Other recommendations include developing protocols for known hazards, such as the wood waste landfill site, and having the necessary fire suppression equipment, tools, water, and training necessary to fight a fire. For more detailed information, review the Community Wildfire Protection Plan document and associated high-resolution maps that is available on the SRD website. We'd like to thank the following individuals for sharing their time with us throughout the project. Sean Koopman from the SRD for his vision encouragement throughout the project. Mike and Meredith from the Village of Zeballos for always answering our questions and taking the time to meet with us. Scott Boyd from Western Forest Products for providing LiDAR data that was so helpful in our threat and risk data analysis. We'd also like to thank Ben, Raphael, and Todd from the BC Wildfire Service for providing us insight from a BC wildfire fighting standpoint. For further information, please refer to the website where you can download the report as well as the maps. Thank you very much.